also spoke a little earlier with Senator Cory Gardner, Republican of Colorado, on trade and other issues, including new legislation aimed at curbing federal overreach on deciding the best approach to marijuana policies. Let's have a listen.
Well, this is a bill that's not focused on legalization, as some approaches to marijuana have been, but it's a bill that actually deals with the current challenge we have between the conflict of federal and state law. So the bill that Senator Warren and I have introduced basically says if a state decides that it wants to legalize marijuana, whether that's medical or recreational or any other kind of form, then once the state does that, it basically carves itself out of the federal prohibition.
And the federal prohibition has made a lot of uncertainty, especially for financial institutions, in terms of whether or not they can get involved. And ultimately, some would argue that leads to safety concerns.
It's created a lot of uncertainty, and it's created a lot of sort of black market concerns where you didn't need to have one had the federal government handled this appropriately to begin with. And so in Colorado alone, if you look at our industry, it's about a $2 billion cash economy. And you've got $2 billion of cash floating around in armored vehicles and warehouses. It needs to get out of the shadows and into some transparency, and that's why the financial services part of this is so important.
You said armored vehicles, and I don't think people really fully understand precisely what that means. You've literally got this legalized in states like Colorado, as well as now California and others, and they're literally having to put cash in armored cars.
With the paramilitary force, basically, to try to protect this cash from people who wish to, rob or steal or the cartel involvement. So this is a big challenge, and this isn't going away, and I think that's my point to Congress has been, let's not keep our head in the sands on this. Let's make sure we address this problem.
And President Trump, you've said, has said he's going to sign it?
Yeah, he would sign it, and that's something that he has been supportive of from day one when the Jeff Sessions reversed the Cole Memorandum, which was basically the guidance document for all of this up until Jeff Sessions reversed it.
Okay, but all of this would be gone away if the AG's office or the Department of Justice wouldn't label marijuana as a drug.
It certainly could do that. There's a couple of different approaches. I mean, they could deschedule it. They can do that through their own. I think it sounds like they're waiting for Congress to take that step because they don't want to internally. There's a number of ways you could do this. And again, I think the approach that Senator Warren and I have has been the one that has achieved the most support, bipartisan support, because it's not about legalization. You're not making a determination on whether you want to legalize marijuana nationally. You're not making a determination on scheduling issues. You're simply saying, hey, if your state makes a decision that's different than federal law, then we're going to respect that state's decision to do that, and it's going to be fine, and it will be in compliance instead of out of compliance with federal law.
Fascinating issue. Switching gears, U.S.-China trade policy, big issue for your state. You've been really at the forefront of this as a member of the Commerce Committee. Where do things stand, and where do you want to see things end up when President Trump and President Xi finally, whenever they meet and come face to face?
Well, I think the world has really, the global trade coalition has really woken up to the practices of China and when it comes to trade over the past decade. This morning, there are reports that the European Union has grown more and more frustrated with China. They thought some agreements in place a year ago that were going to be executed by China, but now they're frustrated that China hasn't stopped some of the state-owned enterprise issues or the forced transfer of technology. That's a concern the United States continues to carry out, something that I'm very concerned about. But I don't believe in tariffs. I don't think the tariffs approach is the right thing. I think that hurts our economy. It's a tax on American consumers. And so, yes, we ought to join with our European Union colleagues and say to China, hey, the European Union, the United States, our partners in Southeast Asia, we're going to collectively stand up to China. We're going to organize in a cooperative way against China to make sure they change their behavior. I think that's more effective and more economically beneficial than a one-off tariff strategy.
And yet President Trump is signaling that he would raise tariffs against the Europeans as well.
I know. Again, I think this is a dangerous economic policy to have tariffs. I don't like it. I think we should negotiate. I think we should get coalitions together of like-minded countries and behaviors. But I think when it comes to tariffs, it really is disruptive to trade, and it certainly breaks up supply chains that you may never be able to put back.